And the OECD forecasts that Canada will have the worst economic growth out of all of its roughly 40 nations for the next 30 years.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully, you're having a wonderful day so far. I got a good one for you today. So, some distressing information has come out from the Privy Council's office about the trajectory that Canada is going in and where we will end up if we continue on our way. And Pierre Poilievre, in his recent stop on his election cycle, mentioned it quite thoroughly, and I think that's why he changed his platform to change, because it's quite distressing what they say. Now, first, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Now, with no further ado, let's get into this.
Now, you have to take into consideration the context in which we're announcing this platform for a change. Just Saturday, Mark Carney announced that not only will he keep all of Justin Trudeau's reckless spending, he will add $130 billion more. Spending that will drive costs higher for food, housing, and everything else. Spending that will risk our economy and threaten our future. It's not that Mark Carney is as bad as Justin Trudeau. He's far more costly. We also learned from media reports that the Carney platform was already written for Justin Trudeau. So Mr. Carney has the same Liberal MPs, same Liberal ministers, same Liberal platform, and you will get the same disastrous Liberal results. And it is a very dangerous future if the Liberals get their fourth term. And this isn't just my words. It's Mark Carney's own government department. Just a week ago, we learned that one of the departments of the government, the Privy Council office, has made some very depressing predictions about the way the country is headed after a decade of Liberal rule. I'm going to quote directly from this Privy Council report. In 2040, upward mobility is almost unheard of in Canada, they predict. Hardly anyone believes they can build a better life for themselves or their children through their own efforts, and many worry about sliding down the social order. It forecasts more people may struggle to afford rent, bills, and groceries. Resulting stress could worsen mental health challenges. This would increase demand for social services. And then there's some specific forecasts that the current Liberal government is making about our future. In 2040, owning a home is not a realistic goal for many. Inequality between those who rent and those who own has become a key driver of social, economic, and political conflict. The report goes on to say that people may lose faith in the Canadian project altogether. It forecasts that many will leave the country to avoid this rising cost and declining opportunity. And they believe that it will lead to a mental health crisis. More people will emigrate to jurisdictions where they believe upward mobility and or higher standards of living are easier to obtain. Quote, if young workers leave Canada, it may become harder to pay for the systems that support a growing number of older people. It says things are so bad that, and this is a quote, I'm quoting from the government here, if I had said this myself, you would have thought it was outlandish, but this is the government's own predictions about how bad things are headed right now. People may start to hunt, fish, and forage on public lands and waterways because they can't afford groceries anymore. This isn't my prediction. This is where the country is headed if we continue down the Liberal track.
And doesn't that sound familiar? I believe there was a Blacklock's report that came out about a year ago that leaked an RCMP report that said pretty much the same thing, word by word. Was that there was going to be unrest, that people weren't going to be able to afford food, that there was pretty much going to be economic and social destruction here in Canada if we went the same way. So these people have known this for a year now. How do the Liberals think that we're going to vote them back in after hearing all this, after they say themselves that if we continue the way we are, we're going to be destitute. And a lot of this stuff is already happening. It's not rampant, but it's happening.
Sounds incredible. Something from the post-apocalyptic TV show like Fallout or The Last of Us. But this is the forecast from Prime Minister Carney's own government department, the Privy Council office. Now, Mr. Carney plans to continue the very policies that got us into this mess in the first place. In fact, he plans to go even further. $130 billion of additional spending above and beyond what Justin Trudeau had already promised will take the new debt that Liberals are projected to add over the next 4 years to $250 billion of inflationary, cost-driving spending that threatens our social programs and our future. This is my plan for change. First, we will cut the Liberal deficit by 70%. By cutting back on bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracies, slashing money for special interests, and unleashing $500 billion of extra economic growth by unlocking the power of our resources and home building. We will, thank you.
Holy moly, by 70%. Now, he didn't give a timeline on when that was actually going to be done, but if we can do that, save, scrimp, and everything, governmental-wise, Canada will be in good shape. Now, we might actually make it out of this by the skin of our teeth. But now let's skip over to the question and answer period. I'm trying to keep these videos around 20 minutes-ish, so I'll leave a link down below to the whole video.
We will now take questions from the floor. Please say your name and outlet.
Good morning, Mr. Polyev. Nick Murray from the Canadian Press.
Thank you.
Your platform calls for $20 billion in revenue in the first year from tariff response, but you've previously said that a Conservative government would redistribute that to affected workers and tax cuts, and you've also said that you would look to pause tariffs in an early renegotiation of a new trade deal with the United States. So I'm wondering how you account for that $20 billion in revenue in year one with those variables at play and a $31 billion deficit already forecast.
Yes, that's a very good question. So you're right, we are inheriting a very large Liberal deficit. It's actually $46.8 billion right now under the current Liberal government. And well, let's be clear, all of these deficits that we're talking about are inherited from the previous Liberal government. So let's not pretend that these deficits were created by anyone other than Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau. On the tariffs, I have to accept the numbers the government published. Mr. Carney has said that the tariffs will generate $20 billion. What I'm committed to is redistributing that money to Canadians through tax cuts and through targeted aid to industries that are directly affected. So I have said that we will be cutting taxes by more than $20 billion by lowering income tax 15%, axing the sales tax on new homes, letting seniors have $34,000 tax-free earnings should they choose, axing the sales tax on Canadian-made automobiles, so axing the carbon tax. So we will use the money to cut taxes on work, investment, energy, and home building, and also to eliminate the capital gains tax on any monies reinvested in Canada. We also have set up a fund, I think it's $2 or $3 billion that we have put aside to keep Canadians working. It's called the Keep Canadians Working Fund. It is going to be a loan program, but it's going to target those businesses that we know can survive and thrive in the future, but are trying to avoid layoffs in the short term while we go through this unfortunate and frankly wrong-headed tariff dispute that the president has wrongly pursued. So look, the bottom line is that with all this going on, we can't afford a fourth Liberal term of rising costs and crime. We need a change with a new Conservative government that will cut waste, cap spending, lower taxes, and bring home an affordable life for all Canadians. Thank you.
Well, that's awesome. They're acting like they're kind of already going to win, creating a fund right off the bat just to make sure that Canadians are going to be okay during the tariff wars. And see, this is the amazing thing about Pierre Poilievre is he comes up with all of these things that you don't think about in the moment, but are super, super smart. Now, 100% Mark Carney is totally going to rip this idea off. Totally. Because I think Mark Carney, his view of it is all the money from the tariffs are going to go back into our own pocket. The problem with that, though, is we pay for the tariffs through buying goods from the US. So it still hurts us, the consumer. I'll let you guys choose in the chat below whose idea is better.
Thank you, Bailey Morton with Aurora today. Your platform talks about incentivizing development charge cuts
Yes.
and backing cities who build housing with infrastructure funding. Local municipal leaders in Newmarket and Aurora have talked about how they need more funding to do this infrastructure building, and that without the infrastructure built, that's what delays housing. So how's your plan going to get housing starts up and building faster?
This is a very good question. Over the last Liberal decade, housing costs have doubled, and the reason is that Liberals continue to build bureaucracy instead of building homes. As local governments jack up construction taxes, the federal government continues
He's not wrong.
to give them rewards for doing so, with more and more government spending. Mr. Carney is pledging to repeat all of the same Liberal policies on housing that got us into this mess in the first place. I want the opposite. I don't want to build bureaucracy. I want to build homes. So first, I will leave. The number one cost for a new home in Ontario today is taxes, direct taxes, sales taxes, land transfer taxes, development charges. The second biggest cost is bureaucracy, delays, zoning, permits, lawyers, accountants, lobbyists, none of whom build any homes. More money from a new home today goes to bureaucrats in buildings than goes to the carpenters, electricians, and plumbers who actually build the homes. So what I've said is to the cities, you need to follow my example of cutting taxes on home building. If you do, I will pay half the cost of your building tax reductions. The goal will be to cut municipal home building taxes by 50 grand, cut Canadian national home building taxes by roughly the same amount in order to reduce taxes on a new home build by 100 grand. Those municipalities that block housing, they will get less federal infrastructure money, very simply. I'm setting a target. Municipalities should be permitting 15% more homes every single year. And if they hit that target and beat it, they'll get more money. If they refuse, then they'll be getting less money. It's very simple. We cannot continue to pay local bureaucracies to block home building. We have to incentivize more construction. And, you know, we are near Vaughan. I think Vaughan actually just cut their development charges by about 50%. I think I have that right. Is that right? Yeah, so that was a good decision. I want to give them credit for that. And I congratulated Mayor Del Duca for that. I know that he's a different color than I am, but when you acknowledge good work when it's done. And I would reward Vaughan and municipalities like that for making the right decision, because we have to axe taxes if we're going to build homes for a change.
Safe.
Thank you.
And he's 100% right about the taxes being a massive portion and a massive hurdle when you're buying homes in other provinces. I think Alberta and British Columbia are the cheapest with our land transfer taxes, but you go out east to Ontario, the land transfer tax, the tax rates are like 55,000 is at 0.5%. Then anything exceeding 55,000 is 1%. So with land just increasing as much in cost as it is right now, how much land are you going to get for $55,000? I doubt very much, especially that near a city. I've seen lots in the city being at like $42,000, and they're just small lots. So the fact that he's going to get rid of those taxes is perfect, just perfect. And he's going to get rid of the GST on new house owners. Perfect.
Mr. Polly, Joe Warmington from the Toronto Sun and Post Media.
Hey, Joe.
Nice to be here today. And
Thank you.
I would be remiss as a reporter to not talk about what you talked about. And I want to talk about the platform. But just before that, you mentioned about this report out of the Privy Council.
Yeah.
Now, as a crime reporter, if you will, when I hear something like that, I cannot believe what I've heard. And it's such a stark contrast to what you talked about in your platform. But I do want to go back, if you can address that, how that's going to help fix it. But that is the most negative thing in my 40 years in journalism that I've ever heard about Canada. I don't see it too many places in the media, and I think it can't be glossed over. So I'd like to talk about that and how you're going to fix that if you win on the next week.
I think you're absolutely right. I'm shocked that this is not an interest group or an opinion columnist or even a think tank that has put out this report. It is not even just a government department. It is the Prime Minister's personal department. I think somebody has to ask Mark Carney, has he seen this report? His department wrote it. And what they are anticipating on the current trajectory is a total meltdown, a societal breakdown in Canada if we stay on the current track. Why this isn't blazing the front pages of every news outlet in the country right now is beyond me. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like, it blows my mind. What they're actually saying is that, I'm just going to read some of these. More people, this is for the future. It's not enough for Mr. Carney to say, oh, well, the last 10 years is in the past, forget about it. Stop bothering me about the past, he will say. This is the predicted future his department foresees for Canada. More people may struggle to afford rent, bills, or groceries. The resulting stress could worsen mental health challenges. This would increase demand on social services. In 2040, upward social mobility is almost unheard of in Canada. Hardly anyone believes that they can build a better life for themselves or their children through their own efforts. Many worry about sliding down the social order. In 2040, owning a home is not a realistic goal for many. Inequality between those who rent and those who own has become a key driver of social, economic, and political conflict. In 2040, pursuing a post-secondary education is no longer considered a reliable path to social mobility. Fewer young people choose post-secondary education, and those who do see it less as a path to a successful career than a way to reinforce their membership in the, quote, elite. That's not my words. That's the government's words. The report paints a terrifying picture of a spiral of economic depression and cost inflation. People may lose faith in the Canadian project, it says. It forecasts that this may trigger people to, quote, emigrate to jurisdictions where they perceive upward social mobility or other higher standards of living are easier to obtain. If young workers leave, it may become harder to pay for our social programs for the older people in the country. And then this last line, it staggers me. That because groceries are expected to become so expensive, according to Mr. Carney's top government department, people may start to hunt, fish, and forage on public lands and waterways. It is just hard to believe when you read these words that this is about Canada. This is exactly why I'm in politics, to reverse this, to give people back the promise of this country. And we know what to do. We know how to get there. We have to unleash a plan for change, a plan that will cut people's taxes so their hard work pays off, that will remove bureaucracy so we can build over 2 million homes, that will lock up the violent criminals, that will unleash our resources to generate a $500 billion of extra economic growth, that will fund schools and hospitals and opportunity for our people. That's what's at stake.
And that's the thing is Canada, like it or not, Canada is a resource-based economy. We make more money off of our wood, or our oil and gas, our minerals, our aluminum than we do anything else. We're not like the United States that makes more money on it in our intellectual properties or whatnot. And the government for 10 years have been hindering that. Heck, we haven't approved a pipeline in 10 years. That's ridiculous. So I do not see, well, and apparently the government doesn't see that this is just going to be in 15 years. All of this destitution is just going to come around in 15 years. Maybe in 15 years, all Canadians will see it. But with the 10 cities and everything, we're going to see this with most lower class Canadians probably in the next 4 years of a Mark Carney government. I think we're going to see stagflation because from what Mark Carney says he's going to do in his platform and how much money he's going to spend and not really anything about saving, where's that money going to come from? Print it off?
Thank you. Thank you. So the question that came to me, well, I should just say on the train, we will grant fast permits for the large-scale projects like this, and we will make this an environment in which projects can get built. Nous allons livrer des permis très rapides pour des projets comme vous avez mentionné. In English, on the question was about housing, how we're going to generate billions of dollars of extra revenue from home building. That is based on a report we have that shows that every time a new house gets built in Canada, about $70,000 in taxes are paid by the workers and businesses who build those homes. Obviously, the carpenters, electricians, plumbers, they get paid salaries. The companies make profits, and they all pay taxes. So every extra home we get built generates 70 grand for the government. We're going to build 2.3 million homes, which is about twice the current trajectory, which means there'll be a lot more economic revenue coming in for the government from home building. How will we do it? We'll axe the GST, the federal sales tax on new homes. We'll incentivize municipalities to cut their development charges, speed up their permits, free up land. We'll sell off 6,000 federal buildings, thousands of acres of federal land. And in that way, we will build extra homes, which will generate additional tax revenue. This is a win-win-win after a lost Liberal decade of doubling housing costs. We can't afford a fourth term. We need a change to axe the taxes, cut the red tape, build the homes, and a bright future. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes today's press conference. Merci, ça conclut.
To be fair, and he's totally right that more houses means more income for the government, and that's what they're going for. I don't know how they're going to build that many houses in that small amount of time. Because I think he said 2 million in 1 year. So I'd like to see his numbers on that one. Because that definitely sounds like apartment complex stuff. I'm just being fair because I grilled Mark Carney on his 200 and I think he said 250,000 or something like that. That's just my thoughts on that stuff. But let me know what you guys think in the chat below. Do you think that what the Privy Council says will happen, even with or without the Conservatives in power? Because I can't say, because most likely under the Liberals it will happen. But do you think voting Conservative will change it? Let me know in the comments down below. And let me know, how long do you think it'll take to turn this boat around? Other than that, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, there's a Buy Me a Coffee link down below. Other than that, that's all I got for you. Have a great day.